Well, thanks for coming in. First question is, who have you engaged with in meetings to educate yourselves about the situation? Did you engage with Teagasc?
We haven't, no, haven't, but we have, we've met with the farming associations.
Yeah, but were you out in a farm or anything?
I'm actually personally going out on a farm tomorrow.
Yeah, but
and some of our members have been at farms themselves.
That needs doing urgently. Like, this has been dragged on now for 7 to 8 months, and farmers are left in a quagmire at the moment, and there's no definite answers coming. And whatever about a good decision or a bad decision, no decision is the worst of the lot. And farmers are left waiting on money that they, you know, I know farmers that aren't even hearing back from revenue at the moment, which is not a great situation. Can I ask you, if I put up a new shed, do you get the VAT back on that?
What type of?
A shed, a hay garden or whatever.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I bolt that to the ground. I put down my bowls and I put my shed up in it, and it's a permanent structure. I put up my meal bin. What's the difference?
Well, the
it's
shed.
Bolted.
Pardon?
They're all bolted.
Yeah, but a shed is a structure.
And what's a meal bin?
A meal bin is a piece of equipment.
So a 10-ton meal bin is a structure, is it?
We view it as a silo.
Right. So what you're basically doing is disproportionately, discriminating against a small farmer. Because if you were a small farmer and you knew anything about farming in 40 or 50 acres, you'd have a meal bin. The reason you buy a meal bin is to keep rats away from the place. That's the reason you buy a meal bin. Second of all, you'd be putting 3 ton into it in the small meal bins. And some people also buy meal bins that's a ton or 780 kilos. Why? Because good farming practice. That's the reason why. And if you put up the structure of a 10 ton, the way you put it into the ground and the concrete, and the structure of a 3 ton, only that the base isn't as big, if someone bothered to go out and look at it, is the dead same system of putting the structure in. So how you can come in here and say to me, a 10-ton bin can get it and a 3-ton cannot? My God, you need to go out on site and look at what farmers. And also remember, is it ranchers you're trying to promote at a 10-ton bin? Because I don't see small farmers having 10-ton bins. They all have 2, 3, 4, 5 ton, the biggest. I would urge you urgently to go out and look at what's going on. A robot, is that VAT back on that? Robot milking machine, pardon?
Robot milking machine, yes.
It is, right. That's grand, just to know. Mats for slats.
Okay. Yes, but as long as if they're bolted or if they're cemented into the floor.
Well, you can't cement it. You can't cement a mat.
We've been told that previous iterations of them.
There's a cubicle mat, and what David Fitzmaurice now was talking about is a mat that's put on for welfare grounds.
They're bolted
onto the slat. So tis a different now to, you have referred, sorry Michael, but you've referred to cubicle mats in your opening statement, but you put rubbers on slats that mostly put on for welfare issues, and there's a very strong line of view now that it reduces emissions as well from a study, that when a study has been agitated, it controls the emissions. Sorry, David Fitzmaurice.
Yeah, I'm trying to just establish, and just that you'll understand, and this is why it's so important that you would get either Teagasc or the farmer organisation and go out onto a farm to look at this. If you put the mats on the slats, you bolt them down, right? But if you wanted to take them up, well, you'll rip the slat, or you'll rip the mat, first of all, and second of all, no 2 sheds will ever be the same. There's no 2 sheds in this country that I can take the mat out of there and run to the next one, because there'll be a half an inch or an inch of a difference, and where the manure goes down, it won't go down. So, just to be clear, the way that farmers know, is the mats on slats that you bolt down, is the VAT back on them?
Yes.
It is. Okay, that's lovely. That's grand. The other one is I just cannot get my head around one thing there. You said if a milk tank was built or being on a new build, that it's, you can get the VAT, but if it's not on a new build, you cannot. Can you tell me what's the thinking behind that? Because if I have a big door where I have the tank, like, you can, on an old place or a new place, the tank has to go into it. You build the building and then you put in the tank. So I'm just trying to get the thinking behind that. You might give me your analogy.
Yeah, okay, just, could I, on the meal bin?
Yeah.
It has been raised with us in terms of the size, so by the ICMSA. So we are looking at that as part of the guidance, just to clarify that point on the milk tanks.
But also, please look at one thing. Just be mindful of one thing, and you deal with it day in, day out. You get a small farmer that has 40 or 50 acres. You might have a farmer that has 400 or 500 acres. They might need a big bin. But the person with the 40 or 50 acres, in fairness to them, they're entitled to get the VAT back as well. They're most of rural Ireland, you know?
It's a legal answer.
Yeah.
Deputy Fitzmaurice, but yes, Mr. Regan, go on, continue.
Yeah, so we can only apply the legislation as it's written. So it talks about the construction, alteration of a farm building or structure. So for the milk tanks, the expenditure is allowed where it's part of a new build milk parlour project. So it's seen to be as part of the construction of that of the farm building, which is the milk parlour. The replacement item isn't viewed as a structure or the construction of a building. So that's why we don't allow the milk tank by itself. But it is something that has been raised with us by the industry, and we are looking at that as part of our process of review of the updated guidance. So we're aware of the different opinions out there, and we are considering it as part of our current approach. So if that maybe answers the question.
When, oh yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, Deputy, you just mentioned at the start that you know of someone that has been waiting a significant amount of time to hear back. I'd be happy to take away that customer and have a look at that for you if you want to pass on
If you
that
give me a
information.
contact, I'll contact you, because anytime, if we ring as TDs, if we ring revenue, they will say we have to go back to the person involved. They don't give us anything, all right?
We can take that one away and have a look.
Because we never, it's one thing with revenue. If we get permission to make reps for someone that has a problem, and we talk to revenue, they will come back to us and say, well, we can only talk to the person, the person's tax number or VAT number, the person in question. And every other department that we talk to, be it agriculture, health, everything, sends us a reply back and talks to us. How come is that?
Like if you definitely, on that specific case that you mentioned, if you want to pass the details on to the clerk, I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I will do that, but I'm asking, the other question is, of all the, say, every department that once a constituent comes to any of us, every TD, and they say, they sign the GDPR and all that crack, and we send in a query, we are part of the process, or if there was an appeal, we're part of the process. But revenue will tell us that they cannot talk to anyone or the person themselves. How is that?
I think,
Even though we have consent from the people.
yeah, so I think we have strict rules in terms of who we can talk to about a taxpayer's affairs. And usually it's someone it's the taxpayer themselves or an agent, a tax agent representing themselves, and they'll be linked to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
They'll be on record and they'll have a number. And so we apply that quite strictly, obviously for obvious reasons, really to protect taxpayer confidentiality. But we do have another process where you can write in, send in a rep into the chairman. So that's another way to raise the issue, and that it's normally dealt with the people involved in that case. But there are very quite strict rules, and I think everyone can understand the reasons why we're restricted and limited to who we can discuss a person's tax affairs.
I have one final question because I want to let others in. This is going on, say, generally if there was a change coming in something, and you're saying there isn't a change, but there is a change. Obviously, that some people, one time ago, if you had a shed and you put it in a tank, you were getting the VAT back up to that. You're not now. So there was a change somewhere off the top of my head. It was around September, around that time. Huh? Started earlier, maybe a bit earlier. We are now going halfway into the new year, and we're still wobbling over and back trying to decide what's what. When are we going to have a definitive list that we know for farmers? Because what's happening, the problem that's happening, and Tim or Senator Lombard mentioned it, there's a lot of farmers now won't buy something because they don't know can they get the VAT back or not. And maybe they can in a month's time, but what's happening is we're having a lull in a lot of sectors for the simple reason there's a lot of people sitting on the fence now and trying to see what's going to happen. And that's not good in basically in an industry that where engineering and all of that, it's not a good thing for it. And like you might say the VAT, you get in the VAT, isn't that right? Like all the VAT, if I'm a welder and I make a gate and I charge Johnny down the road the VAT, I have to send the VAT in, right? So it's not that you're giving it to the farmer and an extra, it's money that's going around in a circle, to be quite frank about it. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
It is VAT that a farmer would have paid on a piece of equipment they would have purchased. That VAT would have been returned.
So we paid already, yeah.
Paid already, so it is.
Yeah. So like it's not that it's costing revenue money as such. It's not costing. Someone gave it in the circle that goes round for the. We'll say my opinion is that in the meal bin, the person that made the meal bin, the farmer paid them the price plus the VAT. The VAT was sent in after every 2 months, and whatever that person paid out in VAT, other than that, to put one against the other, and then the farmer went to go claiming it back. But I would encourage you one thing, to please go out to a live farm in the line now where you have mats, meal bins, the 3-ton ones, because the small meal bins, I know that you can carry them around in a front loader. I know that, but a small farm relies on them. They don't use the big tonnages. And what we have to try and do in the agricultural sector is keep everyone with us. But I would ask you one thing, if it's one thing out of today, would you make a decision shortly? Because there's a lull in the whole industry at the moment of the not knowing. And that's my final ask.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Deputy Corran.